What's up, guys? Welcome to Convo Breaker Geek Podcast. I am your host, as always, Mario Valdez. And I want to say Happy Easter to everybody. I haven't done one of these bonus episodes in a while, so everything just kind of lined up for a bonus episode to happen. I didn't want to bring this info and mash it up with the info I had from for episode 52 because it just would have been way too much stuff. So yeah, I did get a little bit of sleep last night because for those of you who heard last episode, I actually recorded it like at 3 o'clock this morning because today's April 1st, Easter Sunday, also April Fool's Day. I did my normal Countdown to Infinity War continuation with Agent Coulson as my topic, but this topic for my bonus episode, it's kind of Easter themed, and it happens to be on a topic that I've been interested in since I was in high school. So over 10 years I've been interested in this stuff. And it's kind of evolved a little bit. So basically what happened was yesterday, spur of the moment, I ended up going to watch Ready Player One. So I'm going to do a little review on it. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and you want to kind of compare what I'm saying to with what how you feel or what you think about it. So anything I talk about, just be sure to hit me up at convobreaker@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Facebook. Facebook at Convo Breaker Geek Podcast. So also too, another thing I'm going to be talking about, since it's all kind of uh, mashed together. I'm also going to be talking about Easter eggs in media. Maybe some people don't know too much about Easter eggs because I know that term gets thrown around a lot. There's a lot of people that confuse the term with a reference or maybe an homage. And Easter eggs are something specific. Easter eggs pretty much are something just like an Easter egg. You have to hunt for it, look for it. So I guess let's just get right into it because Ready Player One was a movie that I ended up enjoying more than I thought I was. I ended up going into it not really thinking too much about it because when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be a lot of CGI mess and just a whole bunch of uh, characters from different what can I say, different properties, I guess. Yeah, different from different properties. There were video game characters, movie characters, just a whole bunch of geek related stuff, pop culture stuff. But so, anyways, let's get to it. So, for those of you who don't know, Ready Player One is actually based off of a novel, a 2011 novel by Ernest Cline. This film was directed by Steven Spielberg. So, when I saw Steven Spielberg directing it, I was like, you know what, it should be something really awesome. And then when I saw the trailer, just something about it, I saw the CGI and I was like, oh, it's just gonna be a CGI mess. But it ended up turning out to be the opposite. I think the the film was made they did a good job in blending the CGI part with the real world stuff that was going on. So I thought they really did a good job of that. And there was just a whole bunch of stuff, just like you guys saw in the trailers, and I'm sure you saw the trailers and the TV spots. There's a whole bunch of characters, like I said, from different properties, movies, video games, that are just mashed in here, and they don't really take up a lot of the spotlight. They're just there. So they're not focused on too much. I mean, there are some scenes in the movie where um, the characters or scenes from certain properties are used to progress the plot, but it doesn't steal from what the movie is trying to convey. So let me get into it. I haven't read the book. If you read the book, let me know if you know any differences between the book and the movie. So basically, the film is set in 2045 in Columbus, Ohio. Virtual reality, basically everybody uh, uses virtual reality as a way to escape from the real world, because in the real world in this year in 2045, there's overpopulation, pollution, there's corruption, there's climate change. Just basically the world's gone to crap, and instead of dealing with it, everybody just since the tech has progressed to that point, um, everyone spends their time in the virtual reality world, and here called the Oasis. um, so yeah, basically you start from level one. You grind like any other MMORPG. get loot, get coin, and you spend it to upgrade your armor, weapons, and all that good stuff. Help you, get stuff to progress in the game. Um, and it's crazy because I have my VR and I haven't played it, and it made me want to go back and really get into it. Um, and it was weird because this movie, I saw some, of course, I didn't think I was going to see the movie, so I saw some of the reviews on it, and some people were taking away, I guess, the wrong things from the movie. Some people were saying that, oh, it was just a blur of this and that, and that it really didn't focus on a central point. And they were also talking about how there was one article I saw that Mark Rylance plays the character James Halliday, who in the film was the creator of the Oasis. And basically, he was this, from what I took, he was just kind of socially awkward guy who couldn't deal with real world stuff, both in his personal life and just in I guess in all aspects of life. So he created the Oasis to escape himself, but he also created it for everybody to kind of enjoy. But his thing was that that was his place to escape because he just wasn't good with real world stuff, with relationships, with his best friend, with the girl he was interested in, and all that good stuff. And some people were saying like, oh yeah, he's the real villain of the movie and blah blah blah. I was like, the real point of the movie, I don't know what you guys thought the point of the movie was. Maybe you saw reviews on it and stuff like that. But even when it goes all the way to the end of the movie, um, what I took from it is that we have problems today in the real world. And I mean, of course, we have video games too, and everyone does stuff to escape. I mean, that's why we go to the movies too, and we watch movies like these. It's part of escapism. We go and just to forget stuff for a while, no matter what we're going through, or maybe we're not going through stuff. Maybe we just want to go see it for fun. But I think now too, where we're getting to, where tech is so advanced, everybody's on their phone. We use our phone for everything. Everyone's always on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Everyone's just so connected to phones. I even have conversations with my friends about how, oh, excuse me, how going to concerts aren't the way that they used to be. I remember going to concerts was so easy to meet people and make friends and just talk to people. Nobody had a phone. I mean, maybe you did have phones, but this was before Facebook, MySpace, all that stuff. Maybe everyone used them just for texting and for calling. Um, so cell phones weren't really like, we didn't revolve around the cell phone, um, or our lives didn't revolve around the cell phone. And so everyone, everybody was more connected with each other. Then within a few years, and this was all from the time I was in high school to the time I left high school, how times changed so fast. Everybody was just so connected to, their phone. And talking about phones, video games, tablets, and all that good stuff. I think the point of it is that we need to concentrate more on, we might have problems on our online lives, or maybe, on the digital side, but and of course that kind of carries over to some of the stuff that we see in the real world, with media and stuff being more, I guess, more that has more of a presence online, that we need to probably maybe step away from some of this stuff and take a breather and just ditch it for a while, maybe a couple of days. I've done it. I've ditched Facebook for about a week or so. I think actually I went longer. I went a couple of months, I think, without Facebook. But you can see, like, even after a week, I know it's hard for some people who can't put their phones down, but you even try it for a week and you can see uh, how you feel different. There's even articles about, people's mental health uh, changing for the better when you avoid technology like that. So basically, getting through all this, what I took away from the movie was that that's the point they were trying to make. That even though all this stuff is cool and what is tech that that's advancing to cool levels, that we need to step away from it sometimes and focus on on real world stuff, which is real world relationships. Because I know nowadays there's a lot of people who um, I guess now, like I was saying, so attached to being on their phones and stuff that now people don't find relationships naturally out in the world. Just bumping into people and meeting people, happenstance and all that good stuff, and just talking to people randomly. Of course, now it's harder, even if you're one of those people who tries, because everyone else is connected to their, phones and whatever, whatever. But everyone now uses things like Tinder or eHarmony or Match.com and all that stuff. And like I said, we're using the tech to do all this, maybe to make it an easier way. And maybe it's difficult now because everyone's so attached. So if every other person's attached to their phone, it's going to be difficult for every other person. So unless we all, kind of step away from it, then maybe that social part of our lives in the real world would kind of change and make a I guess we would see a difference is what I'm saying. And I think that's what the movie was trying to say, especially at the end. And I thought it was a good um I guess a lesson to kind of show people that maybe we need to step away from all that stuff and just kind of open our eyes a little bit more, look around and kind of not be afraid to talk to people like we would online. Whether I mean I see people that easily talk negative to other people online when in the real world I know they wouldn't say something like that. Um, and also too, not only that, but the other way around too. Sometimes you find parts of the internet where people are just really nice to each other and really helpful. And I think it needs to be more like that in the real world. So that's what I took away from it. If you took away something else from it, let me know. But that's what I took away from the movie, and I thought it was a really good thing to to kind of show people. And I think Steven Spielberg is one of those guys who would try to make that point and who would try to create something like this for us to open our eyes and see things a little differently. I'd like to go back and read the book. I know there are some changes from the book, as there always is, to film adaptations. So I'd like to check that out and soon. So just like I read the Infinity Gauntlet before watching Infinity War, though that is only part of the story. It would have been nice if I would have expected myself to see Ready Player One. I would have for sure picked up the novel and read it before the movie. But like I said, this is a bonus episode. It's all connected to Easter. I thought it was a really good movie to watch for Easter weekend. Going back to the movie, I'm gonna go back to the stuff I liked and talk about the cast a little bit. Um, Also, too, I found this interesting in the movie. So basically, let me talk about the story a little bit. Let me go back. I already gave you guys the setting. So basically, what it is the guy who James Halliday, the character who created the Oasis, basically passes away, and in order to make to leave to leave something for everybody, he makes this kind of competition for everybody. And basically, what the reward is cash in the real world and total control over the Oasis. So basically, you would have complete control over the Oasis, and he would sign it over to you. So basically, you would have to complete three missions or tasks in game. Get a key. Once you collect those three keys, and it would get you to unlock a door to find the ultimate Easter egg in game. And that Easter egg would, reward you with, like I said, the cash in game and in the real world, and then also give you control of the Oasis. So of course, Easter eggs are real and based off of Easter eggs from Easter, of course, because you have to look for them. And I'll talk about a little bit later about the history of Easter eggs and about how they play in media and all that good stuff, because a lot of people don't know much about Easter eggs. Anyways, so then you have the characters, Ty Sheridan, who played Cyclops, the new Cyclops in X Men Apocalypse. He plays Wade Watts, which is his real world name, and in game his name is Parzival. And basically, he's one of the guys who studied James Halliday's life, and he's kind of a guru of knowledge on James Halliday, so that kind of helps him into solving some of the puzzles and riddles, into getting the keys for these missions to find the Easter egg. And then he ends up crossing he ends up meeting other players in the game. Well, actually, he had some friends that he played with online. Of course, he didn't know them in the real world, but he was never part of a clan. And I like how there's a lot of gamer references too. But he was never part of a clan. He always played solo. But he had friends in the game that later on helped him out, and they ended up getting together. So Ty Sheridan, Wade Watts, Parzival. I thought he did a pretty good job. When I first saw the trailers, I was like, he's gonna bore me. I'm not really a fan of his acting. Blah blah blah. Maybe I just wasn't a fan of X Men Apocalypse. I hadn't seen him in anything else, but I thought he did a good job. Um, More of the cast, Olivia Cook. Now this is funny. I don't know if this is some kind of not Easter egg. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to throw that term loosely like a lot of people do nowadays. But Olivia Cook, I wasn't really too familiar with any of her work, but she plays Samantha Cook. So her name in real life is Cook with an E, and in the movie, her real world character is Samantha Cook without an E, and in game, her name is Artemis. Also, too, we have the villain or the antagonist in the movie, Ben Mendelsohn, who was in Rogue One. It's weird because I thought he was in one of the other movies, but I guess I was thinking of something else. But he was in Rogue One, and he played Nolan Sorrento, who is, um, I guess he's like the CEO of this company called IOI, and basically they create the peripherals to use in the Oasis. So basically, you have your VR peripherals, your headset, your controller, or your gloves. I mean, in this case, there's also too these weird like 360 treadmills that, of course, you can run and walk in place in multiple directions, which I think there's some tech that's leading that way. I'm actually going to go into more of this in a bit. But anyways, so what he wants to do is him and his company basically they recruit people, put them in debt on purpose, and have them work off the debt by working for them and trying to get inside, information and stuff, or getting inside, uh, getting one ups on the in game in competitions to kind of uh, gain more control of the Oasis. So basically, what he wants to do is win this competition, and he recruits people to try to get info for him to solve the riddles, get the keys, find the ultimate Easter egg, so that he can get control of the Oasis and use it for his own gain. So I thought he did a good job. Then one of the standouts for me in the movie, I wasn't expecting him to be in the movie. I didn't know he was in the movie. T.J. Miller is in the movie. You never see his real world character, but he plays a character called IROC, and basically he's like this guy who he's a bounty hunter and who specializes in like magic and stuff like that. And basically he kind of works for IOI freelance, and he had a bunch of one-liners in this movie that were just freaking hilarious. There's also I think one of my favorite lines towards the end, where Ben Mendelsohn's character Nolan Sorrento does something. He activates this bomb to basically wipe out everybody in the Oasis, and T.J. Miller's character IROC is telling him like, "No, man, don't do this. Like that's such a camper move." And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh man, that's hilarious." So T.J. Miller. So yeah, like I said, he's a bounty hunter. He's working for IOI. Here's another actor I didn't know was in this movie, but Simon Pegg. He plays Ogden Morrow, who was the co-creator of the Oasis, and he has a pretty big role in this film too. Then of course I talked about Mark Rylance earlier, who plays James Halliday, who's just a social awkward guy who he knows how to treat people, and he knows uh, what the Oasis can do for people. So he kind of does that, and I kind of see what what these articles were saying about how he was the villain, because basically he made the Oasis and everyone escaped to it to ignore the real world, but that wasn't his intention. He made it so he can escape the real world, and he just made it to share with everybody, and it just ended up everyone's reason kind of being the same as his. They wanted to escape the real world. So basically, Wade Watts teams up with Samantha Cook, who was another solo player. So I'll go with Artemis. Artemis, his name was Parzival. He teams up with Artemis, and they kind of become each other's love interests, and they help each other solve the riddles to get the keys, because they seem to know more about James Halliday and his riddles than anyone else. And then Wade Watts also has a group of regulars that he plays with, though he's not really in a clan with them. Later on, he ends up being in a clan with them, but basically, you have just three of his friends that he plays with, and they end up joining the fight. And everyone, I think the whole cast was great, but these were the highlights of the cast. The bigger characters. So basically, long story short, they go through, they figure out the riddles that are put in place. I thought it did a good job. Some people were saying that the character development wasn't all there, but I thought it did a good job of making you feel for the characters. Um, and the soundtrack was awesome. It was a lot of 80s, 90s music in there. The visuals were awesome. I thought the CGI was going to kind of be kind of weird and maybe make the film kind of weak in some spots, but it didn't. I thought everything looked amazing. They didn't use any of the characters. from video games and movies. Like they didn't use it. To me, it wasn't overcluttered. They were there because they were there. So I just thought they were good additions to the movie. But so yeah, basically, they figure it out. Um, they take out the bad guy. Um, and instead of when Wade Watts figures out, basically at the end of the movie, since it all has to do with an Easter egg, he has to solve one final riddle. And basically, it's an arcade cabinet, and they're trying to figure out what game they need to play to unlock the final key. So everyone's all like, "No, you have to beat this game. You have to beat this game." And then it ends up being that the game they have to play is this game called Adventure that was for the Atari 2600. So basically, he figures out that instead of beating the game, because someone beat the game and they still didn't earn the key to unlocking the final the final key was not beating the game, but basically wandering through the game until you found a hidden spot and discovering the Easter egg in that game, so that you can get the final key and then unlocking the Easter egg that James Halliday put in the Oasis. But the reason why I brought this up is because I was so kind of excited when I saw this, because that Easter egg is a legit Easter egg that I had known about through my studies of Easter eggs. So they put basically the beginning history of video game Easter eggs in this movie to, they used legit, how can I say, legit gamer info, or legit, uh, basically there was nothing made up. It was all real, like it was all real stuff. Well, aside from the story and made up characters, but, so basically, I can jump forward a little bit. I can take this out from my Easter egg talk, or my Easter egg section of the podcast. But basically, in the game, or in the Atari games at this time, uh, programmers weren't they the developers didn't put the programmers' names in the credits, um, and this game was created by this programmer named Warren Robinette. And basically, what he did was he made this little secret area in the game that you can only find by roaming around. And if you found this little gray dot, basically you would get that pixel and take it to the beginning of the game. And all it was basically a was just his name written in the game on screen. And that was the first video game Easter egg, and that was in 1979. So basically, you had to look for it, and it wasn't like, now that we have the internet nowadays, and you can go looking around for this stuff, blah blah blah. All the info. Even to this day, there are still Easter eggs put in video games, and I'll talk more about it later. Because how I first got into them was through DVDs. So they're in all kinds of media. So I'll go back to that later. But let me talk more about the movie. So in the movie, like I said, of course, it's one of these things where, friends team up, save the day, go against the antagonist. I thought the pacing in the movie was really great. There was nothing that really dragged about it. Like I said, I really liked the characters, the design on everything. But going back to the pop culture references and stuff, some of these pop culture references, they actually played to move. They were played to move the plot forward. I can name two of my favorite movies that were actually used as a really good scenes in the movie. Two of my favorite movies are Alien and The Shining. And there was one part where they're trying to get one of the keys to advance to get the Easter egg, and basically they're trying to figure out what movie the creator had watched with a girl he was interested in, and trying to figure out what in the movie would help him get the key. You'd have to watch the movie. I can't really explain the whole thing. So basically, they go into this movie theater and they go into the Shining movie. Basically, it's replicated, and so basically the whole library scene where he's typing on the typewriter, um, where Jack is typing on the typewriter. His whole That whole scene is recreated, and basically they're reading clues on the typewriter. One character strays off and actually goes to the elevator scene with the two little girls and the blood coming through the hallway. Then the zombie lady and the naked zombie lady in the room. Um, I could swear that was in the movie. I know there was something like that in the movie, but uh, Wade Watts says something about that not being in the movie. I don't know. I just know there's something like that goes weird like that. Or maybe she wasn't a zombie. I don't know. She was just some weird thing. And then they have the snow maze, and basically there's these big axes coming through, and and it basically what was I going to? Yeah, so basically they use that scene of The Shining for a pretty big chunk of scene in the movie to advance the plot, and I just thought it was amazing. It looked great. I actually want to go back and see the movie in IMAX before it gets out of IMAX because I saw it in standard. I saw it in the Alamo Drafthouse theater. So The Shining, that was one of my favorite ones. Another one they did was there's a part where, like I said, spoilers. I warned you guys. Where somebody uses Goro as their avatar, and Goro comes in and he's talking to Wade Watts, and his chest a chest burster comes out of his chest and basically starts eating Goro, but it's his friend Artemis, Samantha Cook, and she just played a joke on him, and I thought that was hilarious because there was an alien uh, reference. I wouldn't say Easter egg because that's not what an Easter egg is. It was a pretty cool reference. So there was a whole bunch of characters in this movie that were used as avatars. You had a whole bunch of Street Fighter characters, uh, Ryu, Chun Li. There was E Honda that I saw once too. And then there's also one point where he's fighting the antagonist in game try to stop him from blowing up the Oasis, which he ends up doing. But um, Wade Watts ends up having an extra life coin that he gets from Simon Pegg's character earlier in the movie that lets him continue on while everyone else in the Oasis got wiped out, which sucked because everyone in the game got reduced to to basically level one when this guy did this. So everyone lost all their loot and stuff. Some people had been grinding for years, like 10 plus years, like TJ Miller's character had said. But anyways, so you have Street Fighter characters, you have Mortal Kombat characters. You see, I think like there's like two versions of the Joker in there. Harley Quinn's in there. There's one, I know this is an Easter egg, um, or maybe it's a well. You don't have to look for it, so I'm not gonna say Easter egg. There's a reference. There's a part where they go to this club in game and everyone's dancing, and but you float when you're dancing in the middle, and that is a reference to it, where the final scene in it. If you haven't seen the movie, where Pennywise has all the floating bodies, and he says they all float down here, and they float in like this like tube shaped light. Uh, Beam, and that's where they dance in this movie. What else? You have another. There's two other characters that are used as avatars that are used to advance the story. You have the Iron Giant in this movie, which is uh, made by this is pretty cool, by a modder. So one of his friends, well, her name is H, but she plays a male character. Uh, in the Oasis, and she basically helps people rebuild their gear, or she mods it for a fee. And she was working on the Iron Giant, and basically the Iron Giant is used in the final battle. And what's crazy is that the this one scene I loved. So basically, the antagonist he has a I guess a weapon or a transport, and his ends up being Mecha Godzilla, and he uses that in the final battle. But it's sweet. I don't know if anyone noticed this. I'm sure people noticed it, but or fans of Godzilla noticed this. But when Mecha Godzilla comes out and the Iron Giant's gonna go up and fight him, the Toho Godzilla theme starts playing, which is when Godzilla would appear on screen. So it's the dun 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 dun. When I heard it, I was like, oh my god! Like regular standard showings aren't gonna have like super awesome sound. It's decent sound, but it's not great. I'm just so used to IMAX, so I have to go back and see this IMAX. I mean, the opening starts off with Van Halen's "Jump," so and also too in one of the final battles too, they have a Twisted Sister playing. We're not gonna take it. So I'm interested actually in getting this soundtrack if it releases on vinyl, which I'm sure it will. I'm interested in getting that. But yeah, the Mecha Godzilla, Iron Giant, those were two big pieces of the film too, as was the Shining scene. Also, too, in the final battle, it's cool. I wasn't expecting one of his friends summons a Gundam suit, so he uses the Gundam as in the final battle against the Mecha Godzilla. So that whole scene was actually pretty awesome too. In that scene, you see Battle Toads. Somebody has uh, Ninja Turtle there. Who else do you see? I'm trying to think of who else you see. There was just a ton of references in this game, and then Parzival, which is Wade Watts, his main vehicle he uses is the Back to the Future DeLorean. Um, so that's what he uses. King Kong's in this movie. Um, there's just tons of things. Like I have to go back and rewatch this movie. Alamo Drafthouse is basically Alamo Drafthouse is not the ideal place because you have the waiters coming. There was a couple of times where I was distracted because they were coming with the orders and stuff like that. But yeah, I really have to go back and see this movie in IMAX to see it in its full glory. Maybe 3D possibility that I might see it in 3D. I'm not really into seeing IMAX 3D movies, more IMAX standard. I'm gonna go try to check that out. But I really recommend seeing this movie if you're into Easter eggs, or if you're curious about Easter eggs, or if you're into pop culture and just geek stuff in general. There's one thing I wanted to talk about in game. There's this one suit that you can purchase in game, but you get in real life, and I think it's called like the X1 bodysuit or something like that. Basically, what it is, it's a full bodysuit that lets you feel hits, and what it basically lets you feel what happens in game. So you take a punch to the side, you're gonna feel it in real life. You shake someone's hand, touch you on the shoulders, whatever. Um, you feel it in real life. So the main character, Wade Watts, gets this uh, suit, and he uses it. The reason why I bring that up is if you guys are interested in VR, there's actually tech right now that is basically in that stage. If you guys are interested, I actually discovered them on Facebook. They actually um, I think they got brought up by some kind of a crowdfunding campaign, and I think that helped them develop their tech. But basically, it's called Hardlight VR, and what it is it's a vest. I think some arm peripherals. It might have some leg peripherals too, gloves, and of course a headpiece. And basically, whatever you feel in the game, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna have a little vibration or a shock get you on the peripherals. So if you're interested in that, that X1 bodysuit in the game, in the film is actually real life tech, hard light VR, and I'm pretty sure because we're like in the first gens of VR technology right now, so I'm pretty sure in a couple of years it'll be more advanced. I mean, hard light VR already advanced it to that point, and then of course IMAX too has their own VR facility. Which I guess would be kind of like the Oasis, except you can move around. It's like a warehouse that they use, and it's laid out to the point where you can play a digital, game or a mission, and basically you're able to do real world movements. So let's say you're walking a plank in game, you can actually walk a plank in real. I mean, you're not gonna fall off, of course, because it's all digital with what you're seeing. Climbing ladders, shooting guns. You'll be holding a gun peripheral, but in game, of course, you'll be shooting and firing a a real gun, quote unquote. So basically, I highly recommend this movie. To rate it on story and just visual and soundtrack, I'd give it a solid 8.5. I really like this movie. I really didn't think I was, and it's funny because to me it kind of reminded me of an amped up, better version of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I remember that movie came out. I really love that movie. I remember watching it back to back. I don't know how many times, and I loved the soundtrack. But this one is just a whole another level, and I'm super excited to read the book. One more thing I wanted to say about the movie. I don't know if this was an Easter egg. I mean, maybe. So T.J. Miller's character, IROC, it's funny because T.J. Miller plays Weasel in the Deadpool movie, and of course Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson, and it was just weird hearing T.J. Miller's character uh, talking about Wade once they find out that Parzival's name in the real world is Wade Watts. He starts talking about Wade, and I was like, that's gotta be some kind of, right? Some kind of Deadpool connection, or maybe it's a coincidence because T.J. Miller, come on. But yeah, T.J. Miller was hilarious. Simon Pegg, I'm surprised he was in this movie. I loved it. Ben Mendelsohn did a good job. Olivia Cook, I had no idea who she was, but I loved her character. Ty Sheridan, thought an awesome job too, and all the supporting cast. I just really liked the movie. So like I said, 8.5. I recommend it. So with that said, since the movie had to do with Easter eggs and stuff like that, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of history on Easter eggs in case you guys don't know what Easter eggs are. So basically, Easter eggs in media, what they are is this is what Wikipedia says. So let me read this just beginning for you guys because this will kind of lead me into what I'm talking about. So Easter eggs in media. I had this pulled up. Easter eggs in media. Okay, so in computer software and media, an Easter egg is an intentional inside joke, hidden message or image or secret feature of a work. It is usually found in a computer program, video game, or DVD Blu-ray disc, which is where I first discovered them. Uh, you can find them on DVD or Blu-ray disc menu screens. The name is used to evoke the idea of a traditional Easter egg hunt, which, Happy Easter, everybody. Today's Easter. The term was coined to describe a hidden message in the Atari video game Adventure, which was used as a plot device in the movie, that encouraged the player to find further hidden messages in later games, leading them on a hunt. So basically, yeah, you get some detail about this or that, and basically leads you on a hunt. And I remember when I first discovered them, I went through my whole DVD collection, looking for Easter eggs in my DVDs. And for you, those of you guys wondering, like, really, what is it or what are you talking about? So there were some DVDs. It's not common now, um, but sometime around the early 2000s, I want to say like between 2004 and 2000, let's say like 2010, 2011, DVDs. I guess this was right before Blu-ray took over. Uh, Certain movies had certain inputs that you had to put on screen. So basically, let's say you were at the menu, you had to put like right two times, left two times, up, up, down, down, whatever, whatever, and you would either it would either open up a hidden menu or some deleted scenes or some bloopers or a game in some circumstances. Um, and I thought it was really interesting because I can't remember what movies I did them on, but there was just a whole bunch of movies that I tried. Even some had numerical inputs to where you would use your DVD controller, and of course some of them had numbers to go through chapters. You would enter a certain number sequence, and boom, you would go in. So going telling you guys a little bit about some of the about Easter eggs and the history of Easter eggs. So the first Easter egg, like I was telling you guys, the first video game Easter egg, which was shown in Ready Player One, was like I said earlier about from the game Adventure from the Atari 2600, and that was in 1979. But there was this guy who actually studied and did research on Easter eggs, and he discovered that one of the earlier ones, because the Adventure Easter egg was actually the one that helped coin the term Easter egg, but then more were discovered that predated that one. There was another one. This was the first arcade cabinet Easter egg. So this was in 1977, which is 2 years before the Atari 2600 adventure game. It was this game called Starship One. It was programmed by Ron Milner, and basically what this Easter egg was if you triggered the cabinet controls in the right order, uh, on screen text would appear. They would say "Hi Ron." So that was one of the developers, like I said, would put those in the games because their names weren't put on the credits at that time. So the Easter eggs at that time in that era for video games was them putting their names in different part of the games and hiding their names and stuff like that. Um, so this guy, I forgot his name. I read this on online. He did some studies and found out that there were 100+ arcade games that came before that, and that it's possible that there are Easter eggs that has still not been discovered that predate even 1977. So that's pretty interesting. When I got into them in high school, I actually discovered this website that I thought had shut down. So if you guys want to check it out, it's actually for all media, not just video games, and it's for media from whoever finds it basically. So from any time period, I guess, because I even saw some video games on from today. If you want to check it out, it's called eeggs.com. So it's eeggs.com. If you want to check that website out, maybe dig and discover Easter eggs yourself. Maybe you can go through your music, movie, DVD, book collection, and maybe find some stuff that you didn't even know existed in the media that you have. There's also another website that I discovered. I haven't checked it out as much, but this is another one in case you guys want to check it out. It's called hiddendvdeastereggs.com. So that one just strictly deals with movies, but the one that I discovered, and I can't believe it's actually still up online. I discovered this website sometime in 2006. It's called eeggs.com. So I suggest you guys check that out. So continuing with the Easter eggs. Um, so that was video games. In software, there was one that I had known about, Star Wars opening crawl hidden in one of the Windows Pro operating systems. But let me go to this one because I didn't know about this one. I actually don't know if it still works. It should on Google Maps. Even if it doesn't, it did exist at one point. Google Maps, if you put your starting point as Shire and your destination as Mordor, and you put to get there walking. Um, there's a text that comes out or a prompt that says use caution, one does not simply walk into Mordor. So that's an Easter egg that's hidden in Google Maps. There's another one of the ones that I know, and I actually tried this one. I didn't know about some of these other ones because these are software Easter eggs. I kind of moved from video games into software because there are Easter eggs, of course. I think Grand Theft Auto was known for having Easter eggs too, um, or is known for having Easter eggs because I know there's Easter eggs that I've stumbled upon in video games too. I think there was one too in GoldenEye, if I'm correct, the N64 Bond James Bond game. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. This is the one that I tried. So Um, Windows operating systems before XP, they had Easter eggs. They had music tracks hidden. But one of the ones that I knew was the Star Wars opening crawl. You can actually access it on Windows Vista, Windows 7, and Windows XP. Windows Vista and Windows 7, though, you have to do something different. But the one I tried was for Windows XP, so I'm gonna let you guys know how that worked. Basically, for Windows XP, you would you would press the window button and the R button at the same time. If I'm correct, I don't know if this was the command prompt because I remember doing the command prompt. And basically, you would type in a command text, which would be a telnet space towel dot blinking lights dot n1, and that would play the Star Wars opening crawl in text. I think it would be the whole opening crawl. I don't know. I'm not really sure if it would play the whole movie. I could have swore I heard something about that, but that's an Easter egg in case you guys have access to Windows XP, and it also exists for Windows Vista and Windows 7 in case you guys have access to that too. All you got to do is type in Star Wars Windows Easter egg, and then you guys have that Easter egg. Um, Another one, the 1997 version of Microsoft Office actually has a hidden flight simulator game in it, and then the 1997 version of Microsoft Excel has a pinball game hidden in it. Um, when as far as when it goes to Apple operating systems, Steve Jobs, I guess when he came back to Apple, I didn't know he had left. I don't know if this had to do with his illness or whatever, but he had banned Easter eggs from being in Apple products or Apple operating systems when he had returned. In 2012, the first Easter egg was put in an Apple product after his death. It was a weird one. It was some timestamp one. So if you guys are interested in that one, you guys can look that up. I also found out that there was Easter eggs in comics. I didn't really want to dig into that one too much. That one seemed kind of crazy. There's even Easter eggs in books, but I think those are more references unless it's something that's actually hidden in the text. I didn't really find any of those myself. Um, then going back to DVDs and Blu-rays, like I said, there was a lot that I found when I was younger, when I was a teenager, in DVDs. Like I said, I think some of the earlier Marvel movies too had hidden stuff in there, and like I said, some had games too. They said one of the most intricate ones, I think, is the movie Memento. It's the special edition one. I think the one that looks like a notebook. I've seen it before. Uh, that one has uh, that one has quite a bit of stuff on it, and that one I found on eeggs.com. So if you guys are interested in that one has a whole bunch of stuff that's hidden in there. So yeah, basically DVDs and Blu-rays, they have deleted scenes that are hidden. Well, some movies, especially some of the earlier DVDs that were out before Blu-rays came out. So if there's a DVD and Blu-ray of the version, it's better to go to a version that was around when a Blu-ray wasn't. Like for instance, the first Resident Evil movie, I think that one might have Easter eggs in it, but it's a certain cover or a certain version. It's a red cover Resident Evil, and that one came out before Blu-rays were around because I think when Blu-ray started coming out, that copy of Resident Evil changed to a green cover. And I think that one's different. So it would have to be some two disc special edition Resident Evil red artwork cover. So like I said, bonus features, hidden menus with certain inputs and stuff like that. But Memento is supposedly one of the movies with a lot of stuff hidden in it. Um, Also, too, music. In music formats too. There's stuff hidden. Sometimes it's an artwork. I really didn't dig into this too much, but if you go to eeggs.com, you can find stuff like this. One of the ones that I knew that I thought was pretty crazy, for those of you guys who know me or don't know me, I'll let you know right now that I'm a big AFI fan, and one of my favorite albums is December Underground, which came out in 2006. I actually have a pretty good December Underground collection with different versions of the album. Uh, Import versions, vinyl, all that good stuff. But what people don't know is there's actually an Easter egg in December Underground, but you can only access that Easter egg on the CD version. And I don't think all CD players let you do this. So basically, what it is, I don't even remember how I discovered this because I know there's multiple albums that have this trick. So on this one, if you're not familiar with it, track one is an intro. So if you have a CD player that lets you rewind backwards or fast, fast rewind, basically if you start the track and you fast rewind, of course backwards, the time goes into negatives. So it goes from from 1 second, you start reversing it, and it'll start going into negative time. I used to have a Sony, uh, I guess a Walkman disc player. I had that CD player for a long time. That one let me do it. So if you would reverse, I think you were able to reverse back 1 minute, and it would play the intro, but kind of reversed. They kind of different, kind of like a backmasking effect, because it wasn't the song played backwards. It was the way it was recorded. So once you stopped fast forwarding it, you can let it play from the negative time. Um, so yeah, so basically it was kind of like a backwards playing thing, and I think that's an Easter egg to reference backmasking because that album, for those of you guys who don't know, came out on June 6th, 2006, 666. That was actually came out the same day that the Omen remake came out, and I actually went to go see the Omen that day, which is crazy. But so yeah, that was a pretty cool reference, and there's other albums that do this. There's even one that I just recently learned about. This has to do with backmasking because I think backmasking is a form of Easter eggs because you have to kind of look for them and know which ones are which, and even just kind of what's it called, experiment with different albums and vinyl and stuff like that. But one of them was uh, Eminem's "My Name Is." Uh, I think that one. I think it's "My Name Is." I actually posted a article on it on my music podcast page. I don't really have my music podcast going, but I do have a Facebook page on it. And basically, what it is when you play "My Name Is" backwards, uh, that section says it's Eminem. So basically, on the part where he says "My name is," you play it backwards, and he's saying it's Eminem. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Easter eggs with you guys. Let you guys know a little info about Easter eggs for those of you guys who don't know what Easter eggs are. Easter eggs are supposed to be hidden items in media that you actually have to go look for, hunt for, use clues to kind of unlock things in your media. So hopefully this gives you guys a little bit of inspiration on this Easter Sunday to kind of look through some of the media that you have, and yeah, just go through Easter eggs. So like I said, eeggs.com. I suggest you guys look at that. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I suggest you guys go see Ready Player One. And with that, I hope you enjoyed my bonus episode, and I hope you guys had a happy, safe Easter. And I'll see you guys next week. Later.